interpersonal skills. So it's all about how you would relate to other person or persons, and that would, again, go a long way in defining you as a good professional. So what does that mean? This means that interpersonal skills would relate to the skills about communication and collaboration with professionals at different levels, not just at the senior level, but also, as we discussed, strategic, tactical, operational. At multiple levels, you've got that exposure to the interacting, working with, collaborating with, and then defining and discussing things with all the people across these different levels and layers and different roles and different profiles. So you should be able to actually work across these different layers and levels of people, and be able to still try and get the right insights, and be able to get the value out of those interactions and collaborations. For that, you would need the right facilitation skills. So that's where you would need to do a moderation. For example, this is what this person is trying to do here in this image next to the screen here on this. They are trying to do a facilitation or the moderation exercise for a particular mock-up, the design. So we can call it as a JAT session, a joint application development session. So they're trying to work together as a team, trying to come up with some set of designs to help address the problem. So the BA here is trying to facilitate the session and ensure that the team and the stakeholders are in a position to come up with the right set of solutions or ideas to address the problems that they have. So that's a very important facilitation skill or a moderation skill. So that would help you a long way in organizing the workshops, in making sure that you've got the meetings in the right place. You tend to interact with stakeholders with the right uh, tone and tenor. And then you also need to have the leadership skills as a BA. Sometimes it's about leadership, not necessarily the leadership in terms of strategy or the strategic management. It is about the thought leadership. It's about being able to come up with an idea and take that idea all the way through to the execution, implementation, and being able to convert that idea or concept into something that is deliverable. And you may not do it yourself, but leadership and the thought leadership is about supporting the team in ensuring that they have got the right level of the skills, the resources, and the support that they would need to get to this transition from the problem to the solution, from the idea to the deployment. And that's where you would need a lot of teamwork. You need to work with the teams. You should be able to actually work as one of them. It's not as if, like previously, about 2-3 decades ago, business analysts were seen as somebody from outside. They're looking from outside point of view. They're like the consultants who come from outside. So then they were never part of the team in that real sense. They were not gelling well with the team. But thanks to some of these products and projects that have emerged, some of the processes, as well as now the agile team, it's all about the team empowerment, working with the team, making sure that we all work together, never mind whether we are analysts, designers, developers, architects, or whatever. Everybody's a team now, so there's no difference in roles in terms of the designations. But each of us would act our role, our part, and in trying to do that, we are trying to bring the value to the table. So we don't necessarily need to change our core from being an analyst to, for example, a developer architect. We can't just change it overnight, but we still can be analysts. We still can try and deliver the value, still being an analyst and working with the team. And negotiation and conflict is a very, very important thing. Whenever you have got conflicts within the team, with the other stakeholders across the teams, and perhaps sometimes the customers, they report you saying that there's a problem, this is not happening, this is not what I expected. So that's where you would need to don the role of the negotiator, being able to communicate with them in a way that you first assuage them, making sure that they do not get into the negative side of things. Give them a sense of reassurance that you're listening to them, you're trying to help them, you're trying to actually help their side, take their side, you're trying to help them genuinely. And once they've got that assurance, then you try and understand how can we help solve their problem. And in doing so, we are helping our own teams and our own organization in that context. So very important that to have that negotiation skills. Again, in terms of product prioritization or the feature prioritization requirements, we always do this negotiation with the senior management, with the development team, saying how can we replace this one or two features with maybe this three, and what is the impact it's going to have, how can we try and get more time or more resources. All of these kind of things we should try and play the role of that negotiation and conflict management, all the while. So that's very, again, important trait for a BA professional. And education awareness is very important because that's what we do constantly. If we are trying to bring in a new process, a new method into the organization, how can we try and make more and more important decisions? How can we try and educate the teams, the senior management, about the newer processes, newer approaches? Sometimes, for example, agile, if you want to bring in agile ways of working within the organization, then it takes a lot of education amongst different layers of people, right from the top management through to the people in the middle management and down to the development team who might be new to that kind of working. So how can we play that role of the educator, making sure that all of these people are aware of the ways of working, but it's not the same level of awareness that they need. For example, the senior management might just need just enough information about how the agile methods work, and perhaps what is the value add, and how are they going to help the organization increase their returns on investment. For example, how can we change the structures to align with the overall objectives, whereas the people in the development team have got a completely different set of objectives. They need to really understand the detailed ways of how we need to work as a development team, how we need to interact with other teams, how should we structure our own roles, how can we work with the scrum master, how can we work with the product owner, what are the different ceremonies that we need, what are the different events that we need to have, what are the different types of deliverables we might have to work on, how we need to create these and structure our own selves in the way that the agile ways of working would really help us. So they look at it more in terms of implementation, finer details, and more operational aspect of it, whereas the senior management has got a different view of that of a very high level. So we as BAs need to understand the needs, the expectations, and the goals for each of these different stakeholders, and we need to create a structured plan and structured set of resources, course materials, presentation, and then be able to address them in the way that they would like to learn, and perhaps that works for them. So that's very important, again, as BAs. So in summary, the facilitation skills are the ones that involve effective transmission of information to stakeholders through speech or perhaps even moderation. So that's what we call it as a workshops and facilitation of some of these focus groups, discussions, and observations and things like that. User testing session, for example, requires a lot of facilitation. And leadership is about guiding and motivating stakeholders through collaboration. So you tend to guide the people. You need to make sure that they've got that inspiration to do the things on their own. So, and you can do that through collaboration with external as well as internal stakeholders. And that's where the thought leadership also would come through. So it's not just about giving them the resources and asking them to go do that, but sometimes they might need some sense of direction, which is the right direction to pursue. So that's, again, a leadership quality to have for the BAs. The teamwork is the ability to work effectively with team members, stakeholders. So that's, again, as we discussed, it's working in the team, working with the team, and perhaps even across the teams. So intra-team as well as inter-team working, very important. Negotiation and conflict is, again, mediation between parties, between different teams and different organizations, different stakeholders, so that they would reach consensus, they would reach some kind of resolution. And that's where we need to really be very diplomatic and make sure that we are not taking sides, we are neutral, we are trying to help the organization or the teams. And that's how we should be projecting and positioning ourselves as BAs. Educating is very important, again, the awareness, spreading the awareness and information about specific aspects. It's about the effective communication of that relevant information to all the stakeholders concerned, depending on where they are, what kind of expectation they have with respect to the specific topic or a subject. So that concludes the